Yeah, we're on the hunt for booze, but it doesn't look like we're gonna find any.
Why do you think the $5 footlong is such a value?
I don't really think it was a value. I think it's a great value. You had that dude fucking piling you up with some frozen roast beef. They had to fucking toast your sandwich just to make your roast beef frozen. I saw some flies in the tomatoes.
They did?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go on a ledge and say that it's not really a great value, at least not at this place.
All these lies divide us, but why do they despise us? They're the fire, we're the gasoline. We're gonna burn this fire out.
What happened that got us into the studio was that Sean, the engineer, who's a good friend of ours, we had always planned to come to this new location with Sean. He wanted to record us. The recordings that came out of that session just really blew us away. That did have kind of like a more, like, just more of a confident rock and roll swagger to it, you know? I think. And it was, and I think we've kind of been exploring the kind of like more rock side of what we do, and that's gonna be reflective on this record. It's just more fun.
I want it right now, right now. Shut down this machine. Fire, fire. We're the gasoline of an American citizen. And I'm losing faith with the American government. Wants to keep me safe.
So different than it was even when we were growing up. I mean, completely different with the internet and downloading and iTunes and
Where do you
just
think
MySpace, you know. But the thing is, like, you either understand, like we do, that there's 3 billion bands out there. There's so many bands, and there's good bands making music. And then some older people just don't think that anybody's making music anymore. It's so funny. I was at one of my jobs, and this song came on over the system, and it was like a cover. And this woman was just like, doesn't anybody write original songs anymore? You know? She's like, nobody's making music. I'm just like, how can you even think that? But I mean, the fact that people have that perception just shows how kind of bizarre things have gone in the music world.
It's almost like people have, like, you know, they fucking put themselves in their own little cocoon because, like modern technology and just the whole music landscape, you know, what everybody refers to. It's like, it's almost like just made new music, like people could be fucking inundated with it. You know, like you could discover 100 new bands a day, every day for a year. You know what I mean? It's not that there's not good music. It's just almost like, it's like there's so much music. It's almost like people get fucking scared to weed through it, to take the time to do that. So they're just like, fuck it, nobody's making good music anymore.
That's so funny.
Joker.
Where do you think
Fucking against the wind.
What is a good outlet for good music? Like you said, you still find good bands today. Where
I tend to
do it.
I find a lot of stuff. I've kind of fallen into the thing where I follow labels. You know, like I love like Astroworks. I'm like, I know what Astroworks is gonna put out. You know, I know that type of shit, and I know I'm usually gonna like it. They're gonna take a lot of the best shit from you know, the UK. You know, you know, I like a lot of shit that Sub Pop does. I know I'm gonna like a lot of stuff that Fat Red does. You know what I mean? So it's almost like a kind of like, it's almost like a you know, it's almost like
it's like a branding of music.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's almost like the labels are almost like a delegation. It's like, okay, instead of having to take, you know, 1,000 bands, these 1,000 bands are broken up into 25 labels. And I know that this, you know what I mean? Like that's a good place to start. Not to say that, you know, there isn't bands that aren't on these labels I like, but I mean, that's a pretty good place to start, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost.
And
like,
I think that, I'm sorry to cut you off. I was just gonna say, like, you know, and I almost think that's almost like back in the fucking day, like when, you know, kids were still, you know, going to the fucking record shop and shopping for vinyl was a big thing because, like, you know, discovering music was so hard to do. And it's almost like, you know, back then it was like, it was hard to fucking hone in on music and, you know, take a chance on something and discover something new because your opportunity to do so was so limited. Now it's hard because you just get hit with it left and right, you know what I mean? So it's almost like the same ideas, you know? It's like, that's how, like, labels like Sire and shit, you know, were so big, like, and, you know, when they were, because it was like people knew, okay, this label puts out cool shit that I like.
And the label thing has gotten, it's, you know, that whole phenomenon, I feel like, is a product of just the current state of music, you know what I mean? Like, because there are so many bands, you know, you kind of have to look at labels if you're smart to understand, like, it is a good first level of weeding out the good from the bad, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, and that's another thing, you know, for a band that is trying to have a career, you have to also consider the whole label issue as well, because there's so many options, hypothetically, but then how many options will be offered to you as a band, you know? Will you get a deal from that label that you love so much because they put out good stuff, you know? It's interesting.